Hello and welcome back to Celestia Astrology. I'm Sonia. Thank you for joining me today to take this look at the full moon in Scorpio, happening on the 24th of April. The last two lunations we've had have been eclipses. We've had a lunar eclipse in Libra and a solar eclipse in Aries, both cardinal signs. And now this full moon in Scorpio is bringing us a fixed sign, and that's closing out this eclipse cycle that we've been in. Usually the eclipse energy stays with us until the following lunation. So now we see that we've moved from that cardinal energy of initiating things into the fixed energy of seeing things through and getting tasks done with more stability and more staying power. And Scorpio is usually thought of as a sign where we see intense emotions, and there can still be powerful endings. And with the astrology that we're going to unpack today, we can still see, with the aspects to Pluto and Jupiter and Uranus, some unexpected breakthroughs coming. Those aspects happened on the 21st, and they're now just what we call in Hellenistic astrology flowing forth. And that means that the planets have had their meeting when they've been exact, and now we're starting to see the consequences. In the same way as with the full moon, we imagine it like the climax of a movie where there's a build-up and the movie reaches the boiling point, or the point where everything in the plot is suddenly revealed and you see all the characters forced to confront their destinies and forced to reveal all these different storylines where threads have been building, and suddenly there's a moment where all these secrets come out and connections shown to you, maybe things that you didn't know all the way through, but the aha moment where things suddenly make sense. And the full moon is often that turning point where things are revealed in the same way that the moon is illuminated by the sun at this point in the cycle where it's waxed to its fullest point and it's fully illuminated. And it's the same as above, so below for us on Earth. Things are fully revealed in this cycle as they're meant to be at the right timing for us. And it's a chance for us to let go of things that we're ready to release. And also we see what is flowing forth from that reveal. So in the same way as quite often the reveal isn't the end of the movie, we see some of the consequences play out, how this manifests in their lives. Usually it doesn't end with the big bang or the big revelation. Usually we see some of the consequences and what that means for some of the characters that we've been involved with. So the full moon can be a time where we see a lot of myth and folklore surrounded with it. It's a time when the sun and moon stand in opposition. So currently we have the moon in Scorpio, and it's at 4 degrees in the first decan of Scorpio. And it's opposite the sun, which has just moved into Taurus. And this is the peak of the lunar cycle, a culmination of the energy as the sun's light illuminates the moon. And it grows fuller from the crescent when it first starts to appear after the new moon. We see that small crescent, the tiny slither of moon in the sky, and that gradually waxes fuller through a gibbous cycle until we see the full moon. And sometimes this is a potent time for release as well. We see many sea animals like turtles give birth around this time. So this full moon being in Scorpio means that it's ruled by Mars, and in Scorpio it's a feminine yin expression of Mars, which means that it's less of the masculine yang outgoing energy that we saw with the solar eclipse in Aries, and now it's feminine. It's more internal, strategic, thoughtful energy. It can be seen sometimes as intense and transformative, and there's an emotional undercurrent to it. It's willing to plumb the depths of human emotion. There's no emotional situation that Scorpio fears to go into. Many people don't like to face others' emotions or may run from it, but someone with Scorpio placements isn't scared to go there, or in fact can often welcome going into these darker places. So we can expect at this time some serious emotional processing, or some emotions come up for us that might have been hidden before that are asking to be processed. And if that happens for you, it's a good time to deal with them. Repressing them at this time wouldn't be healthy. So if things come up for you, there's various ways that you could look at them in a healthy way. And I'll go into that later on, once we've looked at the other astrology that's coming up as well. It's really asking us to confront the shadows within ourselves and in our relationships at this time. And it's not often that we are asked to look at our shadows, but particularly at this time when it's all being revealed. But we can go even further with this, because Mars, who rules Scorpio, is usually seen as a fiery planet of action and passion, but we find him currently in the emotional seas of Pisces, and he's moving towards a meeting with Neptune, which is doubling up on that watery energy of meaningful connections, sensitivity, the depth, the intuition, the memories that water holds. So some memories from the past may come up, and you may be getting more intuitive insights into situations, or like a gut feeling about things, and we can certainly trust those at this time. But also watch out for a tendency towards passive aggression. The expression of Mars in this sign, because it's less yang and outwards, can sometimes be inner and withheld somewhat. So sometimes that can manifest in a passive aggressive way, and especially with Mars being in Pisces at the moment, these Piscean emotions sometimes can lack a container and can start to feel overwhelming. So with the other things that are going on at the moment, we also see the Sun is co-present with the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction. Now Jupiter's just separating right now by 1 degree, but they're still within the degrees of engagement. So although they've passed the exact aspect, we would still consider this as a conjunction. And the Sun represents our ego, our purpose, life direction. And Uranus can be called the awakener or the great disruptor. And when we see Uranus in conjunction with Jupiter, this is a conjunction that only happens every 14 years or so. And when it happens, it can be called like a quantum leap and a breakthrough, a dramatic breakthrough. And this isn't necessarily always a positive thing. It can be disruptive in your life in a way that feels uncomfortable or difficult to deal with. It very much depends on your personal chart and what houses Jupiter rules for you, and where the aspect is placed, where this conjunction is happening for you. But generally there's a link between bringing freedom and expanding that urge to freedom for you. My advice to people is usually to check in with trusted friends. If you're feeling the urge to just burn some bridges, run it past a few friends before you actually do, as to whether your decision is wise or not, because Uranus can make us just suddenly cut ties with things, and you want to make sure that you're not really changing too much. But if the feedback that you're getting from friends is, oh wow, it's taking you so long to reach that conclusion, then you know that you're on the right track. Or if it's something that you've been struggling to deal with for a long time, and suddenly you decide, right, I've had enough now, then again, you're on the right track. But if your friends are saying, no, you're onto a great thing, it might just be that some adjustments are needed. And that's what Jupiter and Uranus are showing you. The need to adjust things, the need to speak up and address the problems that you're being shown. So this conjunction can bring about unexpected opportunities for growth or for liberation. This need to break free from the things that are limiting you. And also, it can bring wild ideas, sudden insights into your mind that weren't there before. Maybe a travel itch pops up, a desire to move or change career, or a great solution to a long-standing problem. Uranus is sometimes likened to like a bolt of lightning, that strike of inspiration, or a light bulb suddenly going on in your mind. So it can be something like that. But because Uranus is an outer planet, it can also be more of a process. So the consequences or the way that it's playing out in your life can be a slower moving process, even though the way that the idea or the thought or the actual event can be sudden, or it can also be something that's been building for a while. Gone exact on the 21st, so it's really happening the same week, and the Scorpio full moon is shining a light on whatever this is lighting up in your chart for you. So it's bringing another opportunity to understand fully what's going on for you and bringing more information to the process. And at the same time, on the same day as the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, we also saw the Sun and the Moon squaring Pluto, but from opposite sides of the chart. So Pluto's been known as the lord of the underworld, and he can bring riches and intensity and power. So he's quite intense, and he can stir up some deep-seated fears and power struggles in our life. And also with this sun representing our ego and ourself and our life direction, and the moon representing our fortune, our environment, our emotions, both of these can be affected by this square to Pluto. So already this week we may have been forced to confront some hidden shadows, both within ourselves or in our relationships. We may have experienced past hurts or hidden resentments, things that we've buried and put down into our subconscious can be resurfacing. It's kind of like lifting up a stone on the beach or a pebble, and suddenly you see all the small insects and animals that were hidden underneath, and then they have to scurry back into the dark. But for a moment, when you lift that rock up for the first time, that stone up, it's all suddenly revealed. And in the same way, those issues for you are suddenly revealed with this square. So again, that happened on the 21st, on the same day that the Jupiter-Uranus went exact. But this full moon is also carrying some of this energy and shining a light upon this as well. And Pluto isn't just about the darkness, it's about the transformation that offers us. When we shine a light into the shadows and the darker areas, we get a chance to transform. These things that have been in our subconscious, they're still acting through us. We are still making decisions based on things that are in our subconscious. We act without being aware of it. And when we bring things from the subconscious into our conscious mind and address it, we have a chance to release it as well. We've been carrying that emotional baggage for far too long, and we have a chance to really address it. Do we still need to carry it? Is that past hurt still hurting us or hurting the other person or parties involved? Or can we just see the situation for what it actually was in the true light of day? And if we can actually release it. We can forgive ourselves, we can forgive the other parties involved by facing that shadow. And by doing so, we can step into a more empowered version of ourselves. By releasing that, we make ourselves lighter, and we're more ready to embrace the challenges that we're facing today, rather than dealing with issues from the past. So that's what this full moon is showing us. It's giving us a chance to release that so we're better prepared to face the future. So in this image that I'm showing you, this is the decan that the full moon falls in. And decans are divisions of the zodiac, and each sign of the zodiac has 3 decans, which are 10 degrees each within it. And the decans predate our division of the zodiac. We divide the zodiac into 12 signs, but the decans were around even before our 12 divisions. And each decan carries myth and images that have lasted the test of time. Their stories have been carried down. And this particular decan, the first decan of Scorpio, I'm showing you an image from the Wild Way Oracle deck by Nicolann Art, and I'll put her details in the description. And she's titled this decan Intensity, and she's showing the seal with a spear. And that's because this decan is ruled by a dual Mars. We have different systems of deciding who rules where, but when it's the same planet in both systems, in Hellenistic astrology we often use the Chaldean system, which says that the ruler is Mars, but in Eastern traditions they often use the triplicity system, which also has Mars as the ruler. So when these planets double up, we see a focus on that martial energy. Mars is the warrior planet of passion, courage, determination. So when we see that, we can see how this intensity comes about. And Nicola's given us these keywords for Scorpio 1 of forceful desire, ferocious hunger, but also the potential for disappointment. So there's a warning there as well, that when we feel this intensity for our passions that come from Mars, that we can focus our desire in one particular place and become very tunnel visioned about it. And when we feel that really focused hunger on something, then there is that potential for disappointment if we want something too hard. So it's important to take that warning as well of channel that intensity by all means. Use that courage and passion that Mars brings to go for your goals, and to use that to deal with these passions and these shadows that might be coming up as well, to step into your power at this time. But also be aware of that potential to be tunnel visioned, and be aware that it can be helpful to make sure that your goals are realistic, especially with the disruption that Uranus is bringing at this time. So that's the reason why I've decided to include some tips for navigating this energy. And of course, my first tip is to listen to my Astro Mindfulness exercise, which I'm also publishing at the same time. The Astro Mindfulness helps you align with the energy and identify the challenges that are coming up, but also to see the gifts that this energy, this time of the full moon, is offering you. So it helps you to see how you can work with it more deeply. The other thing you can do, if that works for you, is journaling. It helps to grab your pen and just make some notes and really look at what's bubbling up for you, what truths are coming up to be revealed, what emotions are surfacing for you at this time that you don't normally identify or feel. Pay attention to them, because they're there to tell you something. And also maybe keep a dream diary, because that's also, maybe your dreams are getting more intense as well. That intensity could be coming through in your dreams, in your subconscious, rather than in your waking life. So that's important as well. And maybe also in some kind of ritual. Scorpio can be a ritualistic sign, so you might want to create a ritual. That can be something very simple, lighting a candle and sometimes setting an intention, or just carrying a crystal with you. And if you feel some aggression or intensity, find a way to release it. Maybe you want to speak it into water. That would be a good way to release it. Just speak it and release it, or go out and speak to the moon. I like to sit under the moon when it's full and just speak to the moon. It's very simple. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I know you've heard this before, but as always, I am really grateful for your likes, subscribes and comments. It really helps the channel, especially likes and comments. Even if it's an emoji in the comments, it helps this episode get seen by more people and hopefully help others. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for listening and joining me.